Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you send us and, well, we really get into them.
Yeah, cutting through the noise to find the core ideas.
Exactly. So you don't have to spend hours searching. Today, we've got a really interesting mission, actually. We're looking at financial discipline, stewardship, basically managing resources wisely.
And we're doing that by looking at sources you provided about two figures.
Uh-huh.
Arcad, from the richest man in Babylon,
Right.
and the biblical figure Joseph, comparing their approaches.
Yeah, focusing on how they both really championed, discipline and careful handling of resources.
So with Arcad, it's that consistent saving,
Yeah.
thinking about spending, maybe delaying gratification a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joseph, well, his actions saved Egypt from a famine.
Yeah.
Huge scale planning.
It's fascinating stuff. Have you ever wondered, are there timeless rules for handling money or resources well? Principles that just work no matter the era?
That's really what we're digging into today.
Yeah.
Insights from way back that still feel incredibly relevant.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Arcad, based on the material, he has some really fundamental ideas. Cornerstone stuff.
Like that 10% rule.
Exactly that. Save at least 10% of everything you earn. That's non-negotiable for him, it seems.
It's the starting point.
Right. And then it's about being deliberate with the rest. Wise spending, making sure it aligns with what actually matters to you.
Not just frittering it away.
No.
Yeah.
And then there's that third piece, delayed gratification. Resisting the urge to buy something now for potentially greater security or opportunity later. It's playing the long game.
Which is, well, it's fascinating when you put that next to the Joseph story. Because there's a real parallel in the thinking, even though one's personal finance and the other is national survival.
Totally different scales. Yeah.
You've got Pharaoh's dream, 7 good years, then 7 really bad years of famine.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph steps up. He sees what's coming and proposes this incredibly systematic plan,
Yeah.
not just hoping for the best.
And we actually have the text here from Genesis 41, verses 33 to 36. It lays it out.
What does it say?
It's Joseph advising Pharaoh. Let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge.
Right.
Let them collect all the food of these good years and store up the grain. This food should be held in reserve for the 7 years of famine.
Wow. So clear. Stored up during the good times.
Exactly. Proactive planning, disciplined saving for a known future crisis.
What's particularly insightful, I think, is seeing Arcad's personal discipline and Joseph's national strategy side by side.
Right.
They both point to this idea that stewardship isn't just about, getting stuff. It's about managing it responsibly.
Responsibility.
Yeah, having the foresight to preserve what you have, use it wisely, prepare for tough times ahead, whether that's your personal bank account or a whole country's food supply.
That's such a key insight. It's not just accumulation.
No, it's management, preservation.
A wise use.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting, because the sources you sent bring in other biblical references too. They sort of bolster these ideas.
Oh, yeah. Like what? Well, there's Proverbs 21:20. It says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down."
Pretty direct.
Yeah, paints a picture, doesn't it? Wisdom saves, foolishness consumes instantly.
It really does. That contrast is sharp.
And then think about Luke 14:28. Jesus is talking about building a tower.
Okay.
And he asks, basically, won't you first sit down and figure out the cost? See if you actually have enough to finish it.
The planning aspect again. Cost estimation.
Right. It's practical wisdom. Think ahead. Know what something requires before you start, especially financially.
That makes sense. It connects back to that deliberate spending idea.
It does. And then there's 1 Corinthians 4:2. Now, it was required that those who've been given a trust must prove faithful.
A trust.
Right.
Like our resources.
Exactly. It reframes finances. Not just mine, but something I'm entrusted with. So there's a responsibility there, a need for faithfulness in how I manage it.
But it adds another layer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A moral dimension.
For sure. And one more. Proverbs 13:11. This one's kind of encouraging. Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow.
Little by little.
Yeah. It speaks to that power of consistency. Even small amounts, saved regularly over time. That's how real growth happens, not through quick, shady schemes.
So if you connect all those dots,
Mm-hmm.
you see this really consistent theme running through everything. It's not just about getting wealthy. It's this broader idea of managing resources responsibly.
Yeah, like a duty.
Almost, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A duty and a sign of wisdom.
Mm.
Makes you think, how often do we really see our resources, money, time, skills, as something we're truly accountable for?
That's a good question. So, okay, what does this all boil down to? What are the key takeaways for you, the listener?
Well, a few things seem pretty clear from these sources.
Go on.
First, discipline seems to be the engine here, not luck. It's those steady habits, like Arcad's saving,
Hmm.
that build things over time.
Right. Consistency trumps lottery tickets.
Pretty much. Second, managing your finances well, this stewardship idea, it's not just practical. It has this ethical or even spiritual weight to it.
Managing with integrity.
Exactly. Third, planning for the future, like Joseph did, isn't about being negative or fearful. It's presented as wise. It builds resilience for the inevitable bumps in the road.
Good point. Preparation, not pessimism.
And finally, that delayed gratification thing we talked about with Arcad, it might be hard in the moment,
Definitely.
but the sources suggest it leads to greater long-term security and maybe peace of mind.
Okay, so those are the big ideas, but how do you actually do this? How do you apply it?
Right, the practical side. The materials you sent touch on some concrete steps. First up, a budget.
The B word,
Yeah. But it's fundamental, isn't it, knowing where your money is actually going?
instead of just vanishing.
Exactly. So, setting up categories, needs, wants, saving, giving, and then actually tracking it. You mentioned some apps.
Yeah, the sources mention things like Every Dollar, Abbey, Mint, tools that can help make tracking easier.
Good. Then there's the saving piece, that Arcad principle.
The 10%.
Yeah, or at least aiming for it. The advice seems to be, start where you can, even if it's small. Then try to increase it gradually.
And maybe put it somewhere separate.
That's a good tip, yeah. A dedicated savings account makes it less tempting to spend.
Okay, what else?
Living below your means.
The anti-lifestyle creep.
Precisely. Resisting that urge to spend more just because you earn more. It means making conscious choices,
Yeah.
maybe delaying big purchases, cooking more at home, shopping smarter,
Using lists, looking for discounts, that kind of thing.
all that practical stuff.
Mhm.
And maybe the most crucial, given the Joseph story.
Preparing for famine.
In a way, yeah. Preparing for financial famine, building that emergency fund.
Right, the 6 months of expenses buffer.
Exactly. And alongside that, actively avoiding those debt traps. Payday loans, high-interest credit cards,
Yeah.
things that dig the hole deeper.
Diversifying income, too, if possible.
That can help build resilience, definitely. So, looking at all that,
Hmm.
it does raise an important question for you listening right now,
Which is?
which is, what is one of these practical steps you could maybe commit to trying out this week? Just one thing.
That's a good challenge. And it's amazing how relevant these old ideas feel. The sources even gave some modern scenarios.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like picture a family living paycheck to paycheck, zero savings.
Okay.
That's the complete opposite of Joseph's strategy, right? Storing up during good times, they're totally exposed if anything goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Unprepared for even a small famine.
Exactly. Or think about a young person gets a raise
Nice.
and immediately goes out and buys a flashier car.
Instead of following Arcad's advice.
Right. Instead of saving some of that extra income, they just inflate their spending. Missed opportunity.
Classic lifestyle creep.
Totally. Then there's the single parent who suddenly loses their job.
Oof. That's tough.
Yeah, a real personal famine. And that scenario just screams for the need for an emergency fund, like Joseph's reserves, to cushion the blow.
That buffer makes all the difference in those situations.
It really does. And finally, the example of a church or community group wanting to do a big project, like a renovation.
Had no money set aside.
Exactly. Lacking funds. It mirrors Joseph's approach. Again, the need for planning, saving gradually over time, maybe avoiding debt to reach the goal responsibly.
So these aren't just dusty old stories.
Not at all. They have real teeth today. Now, the material also anticipated some pushback, some questions you might have.
Look what kind of questions.
Well, like, is all this planning and saving, is it somehow unspiritual or lacking faith?
I see. Trust versus planning.
Yeah. But the sources counter that. They point to Proverbs praising wisdom and saving.
Joseph's plan being God-inspired.
Right, and even Jesus talking about counting the cost in Luke, it seems responsibility is part of faith, not opposed to it.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Debt. What if you're already drowning in debt? How can you possibly save?
That's a very real situation for many people.
It is, and the advice seems to be about balance. Start small with saving, even tiny amounts, while you focus intensely on knocking down that high-interest debt. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Right. Small steps forward are still steps forward.
Exactly. Then there's the tension between saving and giving. Isn't giving more important?
Another common question.
Yeah. And the sources suggest they're not really competing. Both are important biblical principles. Being financially responsible through saving can actually enable more generous giving later.
So they work together.
Seems to be the idea. They mention Proverbs about the ant saving and Timothy about providing for your family. It's all connected.
Interesting.
And the last big one, what if my income is just too low? Saving 10% feels impossible.
The feasibility question.
Right. And the core message there seems to be consistency matters more than the amount.
Like the little by little proverb.
Exactly. Even saving a tiny bit regularly builds the habit, builds momentum. It's about the discipline itself.
It's actually quite remarkable, isn't it, how this practical wisdom just keeps showing up across different times, different contexts.
It really is consistent. So, okay, let's try and nail down those final take-home truths.
Nuggets to remember.
Yeah. First, wealth isn't just about earning. It's really about managing what you have wisely.
Management over sheer income. Got it.
Second, that discipline we keep talking about, it's not a punishment. It's the bridge, really, between where you are and where you want to be financially.
Discipline is the pathway.
Okay.
Third, wise stewardship. Managing things well. It's not just for you. It actually positions you to help others, to be a blessing.
Outward focus, too.
And finally, never, ever underestimate the power of those small, consistent steps. They add up. They really do.
Small steps, big impact over time.
That's the gist. These are the ideas we really hope resonate with you. So wrapping things up, we've journeyed through these really timeless ideas of financial discipline, responsible stewardship.
Drawing those lines between Arcad and Joseph.
Exactly. And seeing how their ancient wisdom, one personal, one national, still offers really practical guidance for us today.
Absolutely. We'd really encourage you, just take a little time this week. Think about these principles. See how they might fit into your own life, your own finances.
Yeah, just reflect on it. And maybe with that in mind, here's one last thing to chew on.
Okay.
Considering everything we've talked about,
Yeah.
what's one small but disciplined action you could actually commit to this week? Something specific to strengthen your own financial stewardship.
Just one thing. That's a great final thought. Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, this was a good one.
We're definitely looking forward to the next exploration with you.